Hi, welcome to the Retirement Railroad Matinee Modeling Tip of the Day. I'm Steve, and it's time to start our next build within, or part within Building Chicago. All right, and one of the iconic, for lack of a better term, landmarks, at least for me growing up, is, and probably for most anybody from the western suburbs, as you would drive into Chicago from the west side, you would more than typically take the Eisenhower Expressway. And the Eisenhower Expressway had the light rail system, or L tracks, at basically ground level, running down the center of the expressway. And as you approached downtown, the tracks would go underground and become part of the Chicago subway system. And the subway system doesn't get a lot of press, so to speak. A lot of people may not even realize Chicago has a subway system because they have the L tracks. And basically the subway is only for the downtown section, at least to my knowledge. As those lines go out of downtown, they come up to ground level and then become part of the L, or elevated tracks. Right, around the different north side, west side, I think south side as well. Anyway, so as you're driving down Congress, the L tracks go under, and you're facing this big masonry building. Right? Well, that building is the Chicago main post office, or was. And you're trying to figure out where the heck's this road gonna go, because you're getting closer and closer and closer, and all of a sudden you come up over a slight rise, and what you do is you drive right through the center of the Chicago main post office, right? Which was always cool as a kid. I'm driving through a building, and as you come out the other side, you're downtown. Okay. And a nice vista. You cross the Chicago River and you're downtown. And as and the Eisenhower Expressway ceases to exist then, and it becomes Congress, all right, Street or Boulevard Avenue, I don't know. And you look out there and you see Buckingham Fountain on the other side of downtown as part of Grant Park. Just a really neat sight. So I wanted to pick that here on my west end of Chicago. So over in this section, you notice I have the road back here. That's Congress as it comes out to Grant Park and Buckingham Fountain. All right, and looking over to Shedd Aquarium, and out on the peninsula, you got Adler Planetarium back there. But anyway, in this area here, this road is going to go through, and the my representation of the Chicago main post office will be sitting right here. Okay? And I've got two of these Walthers U.S. Post Office kits. And no, they're not prototypical to the Chicago main post office. None of my layout is meant to be prototypical. Again, it's proto-representative. All right? So you have a similar style building. And I'll drop in a still photograph here of what I'm talking about as far as the Chicago main post office as you're driving in on Congress. Yeah. And I will kit bash this from two of these Walthers kits. And I don't have, this is a walkway out here, so I don't have Congress coming in. I can't represent the Chicago light rail or L system going underground from this side. So what I'll do is I'll use the trolley line to represent going into the post office, and I'll show you a picture of how that appears from a distance on Congress and becoming part of the subway system. Okay? and or at least my representation of such. All right. So with that, hang tight, and we'll get into the build, because it is a very intricate build. Conceptually, I know what I want. But I'll have to engineer it as we go, and hopefully have all the parts I need from the two kits to be able to build what I envisioned. So hang tight. All right, so I'm back at the workbench, my little workbench, and the first thing I did was I took some furring type strips, 1x, and used my router to put a groove in there. And what that allows to be done is the walls of the kit can sit down into that foundation. All right? So that is the game plan. And this is a build in place, which is going to make it interesting. I first have to build the walls and then formulate these foundation pieces to fit the walls. Now, as you can see here, I have notched out that section. That is as it sits on top of the foundation. All right. It's tall enough where the subway or the trolley line can pass in, okay, and still have more than enough clearance. So all these little nuances have to go together. I've already built this wall panel, which is 3 of the panels from the Walthers, from one Walthers kit. Okay. And I've got to build the corresponding wall on the other side, and the front and the back. And the back will be a little tricky because it's a stepped wall due to the way it lines up in the back section. But it's also not a seeable section. So we've got a little artistic freedom back there. All right. So with that, let me continue on building these panels so that I can build these foundation strips, and then before I actually assemble them, I'll do a test fit, but before I assemble them, I will have to do my painting of these panels. Okay, so hang tight. So after 4 days, let's take a look at where we're at. Over here at the Union Station. So far, we have the foundation work all done, all the way around, and it's done into 2 pieces because the trolley line runs through the middle. Now, the walls themselves have been semi-assembled. As an example, the front here has 5 sections already built, and you notice it's cut out here. And there goes the Zephyr by. It's cut out here because this is where the Eisenhower Expressway runs through the center of the building. Likewise, on the north side panel, we have it built. It's 3 sections so far, with the cutout for the trolley line. The south side panel is 3 pre-assembled sections, and by the way, they're all primered. On the inside, I still have to primer the outside with a dull coat. Right. The back is still in 2 pre-assembled sections, one with 3 and the other with 2. And again, you can see where it's cut out here for the Eisenhower Expressway to turn into Congress. Get a better look at the panels, the foundation work, and let's go ahead and switch cameras for that. Alright, so here we can see how the foundation lays out. and it's, again, as I mentioned, it's in two pieces. I have the inside painted black so that if you're down on the far side and you're looking back in this direction, all you see is the black interior. Okay? And I still have a base to install and some black walls here, only high enough to support the expressway that goes through. Okay? So, two sections. This is the north side and rear. And this is the west or front and south side. The next step is to finish the painting of the kit panels before we can move on to the floor and the expressway section. So let's go ahead and get started on the painting. All right, so we've been working on the Chicago Main Post Office for 2 weeks now. All right, let's see where we're at and where we need to get to. So the first thing we had to do was engineer and develop the foundation. And when I say engineer, the whole idea was you have to have enough clearance for the trolley to pass through it, and you also had to have Congress, or the Eisenhower Expressway, pass through as well. So you had to have clearance between there as well, and then the right height to be between floors, or at a floor, for the road to pass through. So that's where we get the height from. And then we had to use a router to channel out the wood base foundation to accept the walls into. And had to develop the shape so that everything works right. So we got all that done, got it painted up, and then we had to take the pieces of the model and assemble them into the walls that would fit into all of these channels. Once we did that, they all had to be painted, weathered. They had to have glazing or the windows installed. And trust me, there's a lot of windows in this building. It's all windows, basically. All right. We had to make the openings on the front of the building and the back of the building for the road to be able to pass through. And we had window shadings. We had to prime the back so we didn't get any light bleed through. I used white electrical tape to show the shades, the window shades. So everything is ready to go into the assembly portion. I've got to put a base in here to help cover up this gap down through, and we'll get that base. We have to have some interior walls, not only to create the tunnel of the roadway passes through, but also the tunneling effect within the building itself for the tracks, because we don't want to be able to look in and see things inside here. We're going to use some black walls to make a tunneling effect around the track. The roof line, where the road's not covering it, we'll have roof to help cover the tracks as well. All right. So that's 2 weeks. We probably have at least 2 more weeks to go. All right. And so with that, stay tuned to the next episode of Building Chicago. And I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad Matinee Modeling Tip of the Day. I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now.